Before we dive into the latest episode of the Soulful Sales Show, I wanted to let you know about my new $7 membership, the Soulful Growth Club. It's all about helping you get more visible as yourself and grow your audience using from the heart content. Join as a founding member by December 22nd, and you'll also get, as a bonus, my Illuminate 2023 reflection process and my juicy behind the scenes debrief of the year in my business. Find out more at ruthpoundwhite.com/SGC. That's ruthpoundwhite.com/SGC. Imagine serving over 8,000 people in your offers, because that is exactly what today's guest, Evelyn Weiss, does through her low ticket programs. So today I am asking her all about how she got there, what worked in terms of the funnels she set up to bring people in, how she kept going when things weren't working, and what it's really like to sell and to serve at such a large scale. Welcome to the Soulful Sales Show, where we talk about believing in the value of your offers, getting them in front of your right people, and selling more of what you do in your unique way. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Soulful Sales Show. I am so excited to introduce you to today's guest, Evelyn Weiss, who actually came onto my radar just over a year ago and who has consistently blown me away since then with her incredible marketing, her incredible way of thinking, of looking at things, and how generous she is with what she does and how she serves her members. So I'm going to give you the official introduction first, because it really is so impressive to give you the all-important context. So in less than 3 years, Evelyn has scaled her coaching business to 300K months, 190K monthly recurring revenue, and she serves over 7,000, actually I think it's now over 8,000, paying monthly members across 3 low-ticket online programs. She is best known for her low-ticket, high-value approach and helping coaches, content and course creators turn their passion for helping others into recurring revenue with her signature program, the Coaching Membership Method, which I am going to link to this, by the way, from the show notes. Evelyn is so incredibly generous with her free content, so I highly recommend you go and find her and follow her over on YouTube and also on Instagram, or you can join her absolute bargain, $7 a month Coach Growth Hub membership. She also creates PLR products that you can get at Secret Weapon, and like I said, she also has her coaching mini membership method, which I'm going to link to all of these things in the show notes. So in this chat, I got to ask Evelyn how she started this journey, because I think it's really easy to hear the headline, 8,000 members, and think she's so far removed from where you might be, or, you know, it all must have been easy for her, right? So I really wanted to ask her a bit about the journey, and I was so glad that I did. It was so inspiring to hear Evelyn talk about all the kind of twists and turns along the way, things she did that actually didn't work or stopped working, and how she had such a powerful mindset of experimentation that really kept her going. And she was actually sharing her experiment with her people as she went, which served her really, really well. Now, Evelyn is great at many things, especially marketing funnels. Funnels that work not only to bring in the numbers, but also massively serve her clients as well. So we talked all about those. We also talked about monetizing her personal growth journey, and she shared more about what soulful selling means to her, which I think is really, really helpful to hear from someone doing it at such scale. So I really, really hope that you love this chat as much as I did. And like I said, head to the show notes, because all the links to find all of her amazing programs are going to be in there. So Evelyn, your achievements with your low ticket offers and your membership are just so impressive and actually probably mind-blowing to a lot of people. Can you just share, for the benefit of people who don't know, a bit more about your journey to getting where you are with your low-ticket offers and your memberships?
Of course. So it all started shortly before my son was born. By the end of 2019, I had a done-for-you ads agency, social media management agency, and I really worked myself to the ground during pregnancy. I would always say, like, I used to have a hand that turns everything into gold. And when I knew that I will have my son, and I think it's because I tried to become a mom for many, many years and it just wouldn't work. And I had given up on that dream. And then when he happened, I was not expecting it to happen. So I was panicking, and everything I touched was coming from a scarcity mindset. Like, I have to prepare for things because that was always my dream, to have time for my child. And so in that summer, when I wanted to prepare so I can take some time off with my son, I basically ran everything to the ground. I started undercharging, at one point even offering my services on Fiverr. Like, it was everything I touched was going to the opposite of gold. And so shortly before he was born, I realized I can not sustain in this done for you container, and I always like to think in opportunities and vehicles. And when I took a step back, I was like, okay, you're not in the right vertical, you're not in the right vehicle. You need to switch if you want to make that change. So I started to get interested in coaching course creation, but I still felt too embarrassed to put myself out there. You know, all those typical, like, what will those people that I went to school with think? And, you know, English is not my first language. It improved over time, but you can still tell I have an accent and my grammar is not on point. So I just didn't feel like I'm somebody who can put himself out there. So I had to really crash everything to the ground. And I hired someone to build a done for me funnel. And basically it was expensive. Like, it was really high ticket. I lost in total $12,500. Basically, all the savings I had built up from Done For You work over the summer. And from the beginning, I was like, because I had been building funnels and websites and run ads mainly for e-commerce businesses, but I knew how to run ads. I've been doing it since it was possible, talking about Facebook ads. I knew from the beginning that this is not right, but I was still trying to go with it and be coachable. But it was a complete disaster. It was basically a ClickFunnels share funnel of a book a call, high ticket, absolute nonsense. I think it works if you don't care and just sell to anyone. Basically, you know, if you're really into high pressure sales on the phone, you can probably pull that off. But it just really wasn't for me. And that was really my personal rock bottom that I needed to hit. And then at the same time, one of my former business partners who owed me 70,000 euros was withholding the payout. So they were just keep delaying and coming up with excuses. And I had taken out a loan so I can pay flat here. So I was really in a liquidity crunch with that thing. So I think I needed to hit that rock bottom. Then I said, okay, I know what to do. I just need to get it done. I set up the group for myself, page for myself. I started my zero to audience case study where I was documenting how I was growing a Facebook group from scratch and monetizing it. And my first offer that I sold was a 12-week one-to-one coaching program for $997 with a lot of done-for-you components, like building out your lead magnet, tripwire funnel, the ads, all of that. And I was thinking I want to relaunch it officially. Then during that process, I was very quickly booked by other coaches because they were like, okay, those results are ridiculous. I was the first one using lead generation ads to grow a Facebook group. That was, people would use bridge pages and it would be really expensive, like $10 cost per group lead. And I was basically doing it for below $1. So I was very quickly booked out with done for you ads from other coaches. And I got like a behind the scenes of the high ticket coaching world. And I was like, okay, this is basically what I'm running away from with my ad agency. I don't want this. And then I could not pull through with my official relaunch. And instead, I decided I want to have a membership. And then it took me that was then in September in 2020, when I started Funnels and Ads Pro. Basically, all the things that I had done, I was repurposing them in a membership. I had a founding member beta launch. It was rough, but I had a few people that liked me. So that was good. I sold to my warm audience. Then I tried for like over 30 funnels to grow my membership with ads directly. Potentially like one worked, and within a month I had my first 100 members. Crashed that funnel. It took me another year to then figure out my self-liquidating offer funnels that I'm now using. And then I had the idea for a mini membership, and that was when things really took off. And within a few months, then after this first year where I just couldn't get over the 100 members, I had 1,000 members like a month later. And then now, since then, we've grown to 8,000 paying monthly members. And I introduced like a few complimentary memberships, basically around done for you product. And I also introduced, because my members kept asking me for it, a program around how to create, launch, scale your own membership. And that's kind of how we came here.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, so amazing. But I like how, because the headline number, 8,000 members, is just incredible. And I'll ask you more about that. But then the journey to get there, I like how, you tried things, they didn't work, and you kept trying different things. So can you, if it's possible to give it in a nutshell, what funnel and what way of running it did you eventually find that works? And I know this is what you teach in your programs.
Absolutely. I'm completely transparent with that, because the value of my membership really lies in the continuous support of getting the thing done. And it's not about gatekeeping knowledge. So I'm completely freely sharing all my strategies. And I think that might take off some burden from people who feel like they have to hold back and put things behind the paywall. So the first funnel that gave me a breakthrough was a freebie to video sales letter funnel. I had collected coach ads that stood out to me on the feed, and I added my own commentary, as in ad swipe files, which is something that marketers keep, right? They keep swipe files. And so it was 101 ads for coaches and course creators with my own commentary, where I was kind of walking people through, like, look, this is this kind of ad, right? This is the purpose of this ad. So I was really trying to provide commentary, my own value, and put things in perspective for people so they understand funnels and they understand ad strategies. And on the thank you page of that funnel, I was having a video sales letter, and I was basically sharing my journey with people. I was recording that in my dad's sauna because I had my little baby, and between a coaching call with a done for you ads client, I had a few moments where my baby was sleeping. And I was working in my dad's sauna because he was watching him. So I just briefly recorded that. I didn't even edit it, and it was my most successful video sales letter funnel ever. And I had the feedback from people that they just really loved how genuine it was. And so below that was just my sales page for basically like a summary of what's in the membership and my personal story. And that was at $27. So that was the freebie to video sales letter funnel. And you would want to run a sales campaign optimizing for the conversion event purchase towards that freebie ad, so you get the right type of people in. And that was working really well for me until I listened to someone who was saying, your membership is so insanely valuable. You're crazy only charging $27. You should at least charge $49. And I was hesitant about it, but I was like, eventually, this person was much more successful than I am. And so I should listen to them. And then I completely broke my funnel. So I had cost per acquisition. So cost per purchase was around $25. I was breaking even on the first month. So that was amazing, right? That's also what grew me to 100 members in the first month, because I had to grow from cash flow. I didn't have any extra cash anywhere laying around. And then it cost me $250 to $300 to acquire a member. And back then I didn't know what is my customer lifetime value. So I knew, I cannot sustain that growing from cash flow, what I needed with this custom acquisition cost. So eventually the funnel didn't work for me anymore. And I basically then said, okay, I need a different funnel. And instead of a freebie, I will go with a self-liquidating offer. And that strategy is basically you sell a product on the front end. You add an order bump. This is this additional offer in the checkout. And then you have a one-click upsell into your membership offer. And that one-click upsell, the technical functionality needs to be the card gets charged again without the person having to enter the credit card details again. And typically how it flows psychologically is that when you break this initial resistance of the sale, people get into a confirmation bias and they want to reaffirm their action, which is why it's much easier to upgrade someone after they just purchased into a membership, where it's really, really hard to get a sale directly into membership because people are afraid of monthly recurring commitments, which I think makes a lot of sense. So the first funnel that I then did as a self-liquidating offer funnel was that I actually pulled a planner from my membership, which was a PLR product. That's something that's important because I didn't have, I had the baby. I didn't have a lot of time. I still had my done for you ads client. So I didn't have a ton of time to create content. So I used the PLR planner for launching that I customized with my own knowledge. So I really made it mine. And that was in my membership. I pulled that to the front end for $37. And then I added an order bump, and then I said on the thank you page, if you want a refund on the planner, you can get it for free in the membership. So if you sign up now, I send you a refund. That was actually pretty dumb because it was converting really well. But after a couple of months looking at my churn rate, I realized that that mechanism got people to upgrade, but they didn't upgrade for the membership, right? So I didn't give the right incentive. So I needed to realign that. And I potentially then discounted the first month of the membership by the planner that they just bought. And that was a little bit better, but I still had a really high churn rate, right, for my membership. And that was, again, because it was on the front end advertising with a launch planner. So people wanted to learn launching. And on the back end, it's a membership that teaches you how to run Facebook ads to grow your audience and Facebook ads towards self-liquidating offers. So there was a disconnect between the audience I was attracting and what they actually wanted to learn. And so it was actually beautiful because it was still holding me around those 100 members, but it was just not tipping me over. And then I signed up for a course from Stu McLaren, somebody I really admire. He's a membership expert. And there was one, and I always say, like, you have to implement what people teach. Otherwise, you cannot sign up for the courses. And there was one strategy I found so controversial, but he was convinced of that. Also, he was not gatekeeping that. So I knew that before I bought the course, but his philosophy is you need to close the doors to your membership because people need that kind of urgency to sign up for the membership. And before I joined the course, I remember I was asking in the group, like I'm sometimes having to smile now over my members when they say, do Evelyn's techniques also work if I'm completely changing them over and, avoid kind of what they're about. So I was just like some of my members, I was just like that, like trying to circumvent his unique methodology because I couldn't wrap my head around sending people that want to join my membership away. So I was like asking, and Elizabeth Goddard, I think you also know her.
Yeah.
She had actually like an affiliate bonus, I think, around always open memberships. So they reassured me, yes, it works with always open memberships. I joined, I listened to the course, and I was like, okay, you bought it, follow the advice, close the membership. And so I was wrestling with myself because I was like, I want it, but then I don't want it. I want it, but then I don't want it. And then I was like, okay, I understand. Like, I'm not dumb. I've been in marketing. I've been running ads. I understand urgency. But I also understand impulse buying behavior, and it's almost as effective as urgency. So what if I sneaked best out of both worlds and make the shiniest object on the front end always open, and then I upsell into otherwise closed main membership? So that was when it kind of, because I couldn't accept the fact that I have closed membership, I was like, okay, what if I combined like the best I learned from running self-liquidating offer ads and leveraging impulse buying behavior, and then upsell into otherwise closed membership. And that was the mini membership funnel that was born, and that gave me insane traction like right away. And then, over time, you can only scale a funnel to a certain part. And then that's the third kind of signature funnel that came from memberships, and that was the option funnel. So where you then use the monthly content for your mini membership, you turn it into a self-liquidating offer for $9. You advertise that offer and you say, get it for $9 or get it for free joining my mini membership. And with that, you basically can create infinite lanes for different variations of your ideal client into your mini membership. So you can scale your ad budget, but ever losing that front end profit. I'm still so hesitant about losing because I'm just a security driven person. And I love not risking my liquidity. And I also think like it's a healthy growth rate. I could push it a lot faster, but then there's also the whole processes, right? And the whole operations that goes into servicing so many people.
Yeah.
So I think it's like it's a really healthy like speed to say I'm growing from cash flow, breaking even on the front end or within, that first or second month. But if I would push faster, I could grow faster, but I also need to service and retain and satisfy. And that means I also need to look at operations. So it's a really healthy balance that it kind of creates if I'm like managing my growth like that. And it's still rapid enough. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just ran my summit, as you know, a couple of months ago, and running a big event like that just shows me all the reasons why, like I have massive goals, and it just showed me all the reasons why, okay, my business behind the scenes is not ready for that number of people yet. I mean, there's a few key things from what you just said that I really want to pull out. Like, firstly, you've been testing so many different things, testing and looking at the numbers. And I love how even small things, like, for example, giving them that planner, then offering them to get it refunded if they join the membership, that was not the right way for your churn rate of the membership. But doing the option funnel on the front end has worked better, I imagine, for your churn rate for membership. Like, it seems like kind of a subtle difference, but I can totally understand how the way you're presenting the offer and how relevant it is to what they're then going to learn in membership, really, really important. And also, something else that I was really getting from what you were saying was like, I'm willing to listen to other people. I'm willing to test their strategies, but I also need to sometimes do the thing that works for me and do it my way. And I feel like, yeah, that's really, really important. And I mean, you have such a unique way of doing things. I think people who are in your world like know that you have your unique way, and that really stands out to all of us. I'm really curious when you're talking about growing at a certain speed and making sure your operations can handle it and all of that. When you started your membership, I mean, what were your goals for it? Did you ever imagine having 8,000 people? Or, I mean, did you have even bigger goals that you haven't hit yet? I mean, I can't even imagine that journey.
I would, before I speak to that, I would love to speak to something that you said, which I think when I talk about monetizing your personal growth journey, which is something that I always talk about,
Yeah.
I think they are based on on what comes naturally easy to you, your God-given or universal-given talents and kind of natural skills, what you're good at, and your unique life experiences. They put like a filter in front of your eyes that allow you to see the world with the ability to prescribe a different meaning to things. So to you, different things will stand out about something than to me. And I think that when you go through the world with kind of this open eye and you understand, like, why does this speak to me? Why does this approach stand out to me? What pulls me in that direction? You kind of listen to that and you allow yourself to be playful with that. I think that's when it comes out. And then just trying things and not being attached to the thing, like really saying, I'm trying it, and if it works, that's fantastic. And if it doesn't work, that's also fantastic, because then I always have like that insight from that. I think that's what I wish that more people would allow themselves to just get playful with it and not take it personally, like when everything that comes back. And I think that's something that I picked up when I studied marketing, and it never left me. I remember when our professor was introducing the scientific method to us, and they were basically just the cycle, right, of making a hypothesis, putting it out there, collecting data, refining, putting the next hypothesis. When that hit me, it never left me, because I was like, that's fantastic, because that means we never fail. Like that means it's always just an iteration of the thing. And if I'm doing something and it doesn't work out, that's great, because we've still made progress. So I think like that relieved me. And also that when I started to run ads, I was spending other people's money. I was employed. I was spending an employer's money. I think that I'm having the ability to not take it personal and look at the data and see it like that. I think that allows me to operate so freely in this environment, because I do feel that there are no rules. And I feel like other people sometimes come into this space and they feel like there are some rules that you need to follow. They're not seeing or feeling like, oh, I can do my own thing. I can test it out. And then if it doesn't work, that's completely fine. I just did it, right? So I think that's what I would love for more people to understand, is that this is beautiful if you can go your way, and you will find a way that works for you. That then other people that come with a similar preset of values and experiences and skills, they will totally appreciate that path, right? And then you've carved out a unique methodology that's a perfect fit for a certain type of audience.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm such a believer in that philosophy as well. Like, it either works or I learn something from it, so I can't lose. And just imagine if, like, early on you get stuck at 100 members,
and then the funnel stops working and you're like, well, that's it. It's not working. I mean, the journey could have been so different if you made that mean something about your entire business model and stopped that experimentation.
Yeah. I think that's also beautiful about you. And that's what I loved about the summit, the Soulful Sales Summit, is that you just have to find a way of selling that works for you. I think that is just so true for everyone. And that's kind of the way of selling that just works for me, that feels ethical and sustainable. So I really love that you help people find that, because we all need to sell in our business.
Yeah, and there is so much stuff that works, right? And when I first started out in my first business, I was like 21. I just finished university and I was really not confident whatsoever. And all these people I saw online were so confident and like showing off all their cool stuff and being on video and being everywhere, be everywhere. And it was just like all that made me feel was like, oh, well, I can't do that. That's not for me. I'm not the right kind of person. And it took me a long time to realize that but we're not just able to be different, but actually everyone benefits from seeing different examples of how things are done. So there are people that are doing purely high ticket or the kind of business model that you were running with your ads and everything at the start, and that works for them. But clearly, the way that you're doing it resonates with a lot of people as well, and it works for a lot of people. I think that's really important as well. Like you are in it, and you are testing it constantly, and you are feeding back to your members as well.
And I think it's a genuine way of creating value from nothing, which is just basically, and I think that is also future proof when it comes to the coaching industry, because your willingness to put yourself through the experience and run the experiment for others, right? Mm-hmm. And present your results and say, look, this was the setup, this was the goal, this was the hypothesis, here are the outcomes, right? I think that's a way of creating value, because you have put yourself through the experience, and now somebody else can benefit from that and not have to spend the time and mental energy to go through that experience themselves. And I think that's a way of genuinely creating value, and that will always be so much more meaningful than any kind of knowledge, right? Because it is a human biological experience that we're going through. It's holistic, and we have to kind of run it and then translate it for others, because there's so many more layers than this is how it works. This is how it technically works. This is how it emotionally works. Mm-hmm. This is how we fall, right? So there's so many layers to like passing that on to someone as well. That's still that allows you to add so much value. And at the same time, it's so beautiful for you as well, because you keep being, in a very nice way, like your own guinea pig, and you keep opening yourself up towards that experience. And I think that also keeps you going, right? It's like the Einstein quote is like, it's like riding a bicycle. If you stop, you're gonna fall. And I feel like that's the same thing. And when we look at the future, I do feel that experience industries will be future proof, and that's a way to remain a knowledge worker and remain relevant, I think, in the next years to come.
Yeah. And I really love your philosophy around that. And actually something I wanted to ask, because I mean, I asked you to give your kind of the funnels that you share in your paid programs. I asked you to kind of give an overview of it, and you're like, absolutely, I'm totally fine. I'm not going to gatekeep it. I'll give it for free. And I think a lot of us have potentially some sort of scarcity mindset around that. And like, oh, but if I give it away for free, why would anyone sign up for the paid thing? Or are they going to get anything extra in the paid thing? Or is it worth me giving it away for free when I've put all this effort into all this testing and all this learning and all this experience that I have? What would you say to these people who are potentially afraid to give that much away for free?
I mean, I've seen this happening now since I started in the industry. And when I started, people could make money selling how to craft an ideal client avatar, right? And I think that there was not a lot of free knowledge around that out there, right? Now it's a lot of knowledge, free knowledge around that out there. And I do feel like with knowledge or with experience, it comes to us. And if we're trying to hold on to it and it doesn't leave us. It occupies the capacity within us. And when we don't share it, we don't generate something new. And I do think that I can tell you about my funnels and the ones that got me here today. And in a year, I can tell you about 7 new funnels or other things that I did that got me from multiple 7 figures potentially to 8, right? I don't know if that will happen in a year, but maybe over the next 5 years, who knows, right? But I'm not standing still. And because I'm so open to give everything I downloaded, I collected, I created today, more will come, right? And I think it's so freeing, and it's so in our human nature to do that as well. I think there's a reason why there are so many YouTube channels that give those things for free. I think it's a genuine intrinsic desire to share with our peers, to not hold back. I think anything else to most people doesn't feel good. We want to give, we want to reciprocate, we want to add to our social environment. And I do think that memberships allow you to do that. And I always say to people, I trust that the right people will reciprocate. The right people, they will want to just stay in my world because they say it's worth it to me, $49 a month, to be in her world, to know about this. When she has a new thing, I see it, I can benefit from it. It saves me time, it saves me headache, it inspires me, right? So they just, I have now an alumni tier after my coaching mini membership yearly program, and have over 100 people that are on an alumni pass paying me $77 for an all access pass to whatever I create per month, right? And I think for me, I'm so deeply grateful. I don't know if you know, if you're familiar with this article, 1,000 True Fans. So it's like the hypothesis of you just need any band, any person just needs 1,000 true fans, and they're good for life. And I feel like I'm really getting to this point in my life where I have amassed so many true fans that will follow me on wherever I say, let's go explore there now. And what's more beautiful than getting paid to kind of be yourself in that way and being on that journey. So I do think people that have scarcity around that, I do think you unnecessarily limit yourself and you shortcut what you can be in the relationships you can have with others. And please trust that if you give, the right people will want to reciprocate. I'm in many of my coaches' memberships just because sometimes I read their free posts on Instagram. Like shout out to Katrina. She has a membership, the Self-Worth Hub. It's around parentified daughters. And I am in her membership. I don't have a ton of time. I've peeked into some of the content. It's amazing, but I don't have a ton of time. But I'm loving to pay those $27 a month just to support her, because those few social media posts that I saw from her were so helpful that I just want to support that. And there are a lot of people, especially the ones that think abundantly, they get to an abundant place sooner or later, and they want to reciprocate. And I feel like if you do that, you just create a beautiful growth ecosystem around yourself, and your environment will always be a reflection of you. So I think you're just shortcutting yourself if you think like that.
Love it so much. So inspiring, just not holding back. And one of the things that you brought up briefly when you were talking about those early days and how you created your membership and all of that, you said that you used PLR content. I think it was for the planner that you created. Is that right? And I would just love for you to just share more about what that means, because I don't think everyone in my audience will be familiar with that. You have a PLR membership yourself, which I'm going to link to in the show notes, but also how do you use shortcuts like that without losing the essence of you and what makes you unique and what creates this world that you've built up around you where people really just want to be in it?
Okay, I love that. So there's one quote that I really absolutely love, and that's from Alex Hormozi. And I often thought about like there are people in my membership I can just sense when they come in, like, oh yeah, that's a Club 1000. Like I know they will take off with their membership, and I always like, what makes the difference, right? And I what I do see as a pattern is, I think it's gratitude. Like they just have a very appreciative, loving, accepting energy like around them. But I also feel they're really good at prioritizing. They're really, really good at capturing what is meaningful here, what do I pay attention to, and what is like a secondary thought. And the people that struggle with the program, they typically have a really hard time kind of filtering through and setting priorities for themselves. And Alex Ramosi has this quote where he says, all strategy is prioritizing. And so what that means for me is that in any given scenario, you have a limited set of resources, and it's your job to kind of say, what can I do now to create a leverage from those resources that I have to get me to the next stage where can I have a better leverage, right? So you would always want to see, okay, what's the next best thing I can do to get me to a better place, kind of how thinking about that. And when you're at the very beginning and you wearing all the hats, right? So, I mean, now we're married, my son's dad and I, but we were actually were separated after his birth, right? So I was actually a single mom with him. And I was typing some nights, crying, nursing on one hand, and just doing the eagle on the keyboard, right? So it's like crafting an email to nurturing your audience takes 3.5 hours in a night where you had 2 hours of sleep, but you kind of you want to get so bad out of the situation that you're like, I'm doing anything to get myself up. And in those situations, you have to, and not everyone's situation is so dramatic, and some people's situation is much more dramatic. So I don't want to, because a lot of this was also my pride, right? You can always go, or I'm in a lucky position that I could have gone to family and borrow some money or whatever. I didn't want that. So sometimes you're in situations where you say, I have limited resources, and you have to know where you are, and then you have to leverage what you can. And many new coaches, course creators, they are in a situation that they start their business, and one of the best things that they could do for their business is set up a lead gen ad, have a strategic freebie, have a welcome email sequence, and get a few free sessions booked to leverage them into paid calls, right? That's free sessions to paid clients. It's one of my key strategies that I teach. Well, sometimes they really struggle to create a good strategic freebie. That's why we have the PLR library, which is private label rights. And basically it's a done for you resource library. We have over 700 products in there. The ideas are basically coming from what our audience tells us. And with I mean my co-founder, Jessa Bellman, we started this together. She was my most successful coaching mini membership method student. And she now has over 6,000 members herself. So combined, we have over 10,000 unique paying monthly members. And we started this together because we both saw this problem that our students have, which is they cannot create the resources and content quick enough as they need it, right? And very often it's just this issue of staring at the blank page or not knowing what to create that really holds them back. So we mainly were creating things that they need, and based on what they tell us that they need, and on things that are relatively high demand with relatively low competition in inside factories. So basically digital products that sell on Etsy. So we created a portfolio around that. We add between 35 and 50 products every single month. So we now have over 700 products in there that our members can use. And then in the beginning, right, it makes sense to, if you tight on time, and often you also don't have the skill to create a visually appealing resource, right? So there's a whole like learning curve where you need to learn graphic design suddenly, right? And you need to think about what size of product makes sense and on what type of product. So instead of having nothing and delaying setting up your lead gen ad for a few months, get something, get it started. And then after you have your first people and you have a little bit of air, make it better. Same with a self-liquidating offer, right? Instead of saying, oh, I'm starting from scratch. Well, go find something and create a product around that. So I think that when you are in the very beginning, or a lot of the attractiveness on the mini membership comes from tangible deliverables. That's like a term I made up, but it's basically all kinds of workbooks, planners, journals, templates that you can provide inside of your membership, where people look at the thing and they say, oh yeah, I would pay those $7 just to get that thing, and I can cancel anytime anyways. Then they come into your world, they get to know your philosophy, they get to know you, they want to stay, right? So we noticed it's a huge effort for people to create all of that. So we wanted to take off that initial burden, and you can just move a lot faster. But in order to really succeed, eventually you would want to become a specialist in your own methodologies, and you would want to use those resources as a starting point at best, right? And then you can make them your own. But that's something to kind of grow into. And also, we need to talk a little bit about sustainability, right? A membership means I keep showing up for you every single month. That's why you keep paying every single month. And some months we just don't have the mental capacity to create something outstanding. So we can tap into those resources. And our members potentially don't know about that, right? But we curate it for them. We put it into context. We can gift it to them. We instantly created some value, right? Without burning ourselves out and as into what do we deliver this month. So that was kind of the philosophy behind it. And we do a lot of educating around how to rename, reframe, create value with it. We potentially want to create like a PLR consultant certification around it, because we do see that people still shortcut it a little bit too much. But I think that's also the nature of the game. And it only really becomes a problem when it's in those very tight bubbles like digital marketing, where there's a lot of competition and a lot of copycatting anyways.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I think it's really helpful just to hear some of your journey and like, you know, that limited time and spending your energy where it was most, I guess it would pay off the most, and then using smart shortcuts where you could. I mean, I am such a fan of that, especially those of us running our business on our own before we've built up that team and all of that stuff. And your PLR content is so beautiful, and talk about that visual aspect of it. Like, I love that. And I'll definitely link to that in the show notes as well. I feel like there are so many more questions I would love to ask you, but we are running out of time. So I wonder if you now, 8,000 plus members, Evelyn, were gonna, I don't know, give some words of advice or encouragement to past Evelyn, who was maybe that version of you stuck around 100 members, or I don't know, what would you like to say to that version of you and others who might be facing similar challenges or, you know, have similar goals that you had?
You asked me about my goals, and I think it's funny. I always just had the goal that I want to be able to live from it. That was always just my goal. Like, I just wanted to kind of know we're good next month and I can keep doing this. And I don't think that this ever changed. So for me, what's happening right now is beyond comprehension, to be honest. So I wouldn't need advice for the Evelyn that had 100 members, because that she kind of knew she had enough of the potion to believe it's possible. So I had enough kind of I had enough belief to swim. I think I would want to go back like much earlier to those stages where no sales were coming, right? And kind of just tell that person it is possible. There is a legitimate way to do this, and you just have to keep trying and not get attached to anything, and don't think that any of this means anything about you. It's just a natural process of finding product to market fit. You need to shape yourself into that person that has the capacity to do this, which I think a lot of people misunderstand. It's like you grow into this. It's like you develop the skill set to be able to hold all of this. And it's like learning to play the piano, right? It takes a while before something like a melody comes out. And if you can just, if I could just go back in time and tell the person, like, to see it like that, to say all the work that you're doing right now it's not lost work. It's like lifting weights in the gym. You cannot cry and say, oh, I lifted all this weight in the gym. What a waste of time. You lifted all this weight, like you did all that work because you needed to grow that muscle. So don't look at that work like, oh, I never did something with that. Yeah, you did. You worked. It worked on you. You sharpened that muscle. All those, I did over 30 funnels that didn't convert. I was just training that muscle, that copywriting muscle. So I wish that I could go back and tell her that all this work is actually everything you're doing right here is exactly right. Just keep going. And I wish that more people would see it like this. They say, oh, I have all these things on my desktop. I've done so much, and I've wasted so much time. I've wasted so much work. It's like, no, love, like you sharpened it, like you did the exact right thing. And I wish that more people would understand this
I love that answer. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'm just going to ask you a few quick fire questions before we wrap up. The first thing I would love to know is, what are the top 2 or 3 things that you had to have in place to make it possible for you to successfully serve so many people at once in your programs?
A roadmap, a clear success roadmap with clear boundaries and clear sub-goals. People with complementary skills that hold me accountable. So that team needed to be built in the right way. And my dad, who helped me with finances and accounting. Like, I cannot overstate this enough. You need someone who is really good with accounting, and you need to get yourself if you serve international customers, you need to get yourself an international tax law firm, and you need to get compliant ASAP. Like when you grow from nothing really fast, there's so many things you probably don't know you have to have in place. And I've pulled everything like straight in that year where it was necessary, but it was a huge stress because I was not predicting that I would grow so fast. And I was so lucky that my father intervened and pushed me to fire the accountant. I had an accountant, right? I thought everything was taken care of. But he pushed me to get a second opinion. Everything in that year, thankfully, we looked into all the sales tax, all those international things, like get yourself an international tax law firm as soon as you do international business. And they do not more, I can shout out mine. It's PKF Antares in Canada, and they also have US. Like, it's just good to get, in general, it's good to get specialists that are familiar with your field. That's something you also need to have in place that often is so overlooked. And especially when you do a lot of low ticket sales.
Yeah. Powerful lessons. Okay. And
probably not what a lot of people want to hear, but
but important. Beyond financial success, what impact do you want to have in the world through your work?
I do want to lead a conversation with people about what it means to be a helpful human and live a good life, I think. I feel like as a society, we're headed towards an identity crisis and crash. And I do want to have deep and meaningful conversations about how we can be helpful individuals to each other. Yeah.
Love it. What is one achievement in your business journey that you really want to celebrate yourself for?
I think that one of the best things that ever happened to me was teaming up with Jessa Bellman. And when I met her, I immediately had that instinct that she is someone I want to work with on an eye-to-eye level. And I was giving more than people could sometimes advise, but it turned out to be completely the right instinct. So I think that biggest achievement was trusting my gut instinct with people, although I was also wrong many times.
Yeah.
So giving myself that grace again and saying, and I do trust again, I do open up again, and that I never lost it. I think that's something I'm proud of.
I love that. And finally, what does soulful selling mean to you?
I think you can sell soulfully when you have created something you're utterly proud of, and where you have the feeling that people are getting so much more than they paid for. So you, even though you don't like to, you can proudly shout it from the rooftop because you're genuinely so excited about what you have here.
Amazing. Thank you so much. As always, just so much goodness. And like I said, I could have asked you loads more questions, but I know that everyone's going to get so much from this, and I will share all of the places that they can connect with you in the show notes. Thank you so much.
Don't forget to go follow Evelyn on YouTube and Instagram by searching for her name, Evelyn Weiss, and you can find the links to the $7 Coach Growth Hub, the Secret Weapon PLR store, and her coaching mini membership method program over in the show notes at ruthpoundwhite.com/episode 8. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Soulful Sales. If you have a moment to rate and review, know that it really does make a difference. And if you'd like to carry on the conversation, then you can connect with me on Instagram at Ruth Poundwhite, sign up to my newsletter at ruthpoundwhite.com/newsletter, or my personal favorite, join me inside the low ticket membership at ruthpoundwhite.com/membership. And keep doing what you're doing because your work really does matter.